Welcome. Today we are intuitively studying the traditional 12 laws of the universe, one by one. So let's get into it. First up, we have the law of oneness. So the law of oneness, everything is part of the same one energy source. Everything is interconnected. The one in all is the all in the one. That everything is a fractal of the same one beingness rather than a separate individual self. Nothing is an island unto itself. Everything is an aspect of the overarching oneness, one being, one source, one energy, one presence that we all are. The unspeakable one. That everything is an individual part of source. And it is also an aspect of the totality. Each individual one has its authenticity and its interconnectedness to the whole. So to be in harmony with this law is to relate with oneself as a piece of this totality rather than an every man for himself mentality. So to find ways of reflecting on, connecting with, having experiences of, considering, studying ourselves as part of the whole. Interconnected, interdependent, interrelated, unified. We're a little one and a big one. Because this is one now, apparently. So, just seeing what comes out for each law. The second law that we are going to study is the law of vibration. I have no idea whether you can see these cards. The law of vibration. The fabric of reality is vibration. It is source or consciousness that vibrates, and that's what solidifies into 3D form. So vibration is the very building blocks of reality, and it's malleable, responsive, alive, receptive, relational. It's one big soup of vibration condensing into localized parts of itself and affecting each other. So everything is vibrational, the law of vibration. That means that we are vibrational beings in essence. In that these physical bodies are made of condensed vibration. In that which appears still at the level of its matter, its substance, is inherently moving, vibrating, pulsating. And this movement is emanating from an as source, which is representing stillness. Vibration is an expression of stillness, so to speak. So everything is stillness, vibrating, dancing. So to be in harmony with this law is to play with the idea of oneself as a vibrational being, not only physical. To play with what am I beyond this physical body? What is my physical body made of? Matter, yes. What is matter made of? What is it that's moving the matter? The matter is responding to vibration. So in what way am I influencing the vibratory field, and in what way is it responding to me? Because, for example, if we have a piece of paper that is dangling or a light curtain or something like this, and we create some vibration in the air, we waft it over here, that's going to move the object over there. It's a similar way that we affect the vibrational field. A vibration I create over here sends ripples and affects something over there. So what are we doing with our vibration? Are we in touch with ourselves as a vibrational being? Can we feel ourselves as a vibrational being? Can we hear all the vibrations around us? Our senses are translating vibrations. And also emitting them. My voice, vibration. My vocal cords vibrating. The air vibrating. When you receive me, vibrating, feeling, thinking. The way that I first began to perceive myself more vibrationally is through feeling. The sensations. Okay, so inner is outer. This is the third law. They have other names too. I've chosen names that I understand. So the inner is the outer. So what is happening in our internal world is being reflected in the external world. It is a mirror in this time-space reality. This is also known as within, so without, as above, so below. So if I make some kind of changes on the inside, I'm going to see that reflected in the outside. Also, if change happens on the outside, I'm going to feel change, see change, experience change on the inside. And there is nothing that reflects in the mirror that is not a part of this law. There is nothing that is not a part of you. There is nothing outside that has nothing to do with our inside. So to be in harmony with this law, what we can do is ask ourselves questions like, when something happens on the outside, how does this relate to me? How is this relevant to me? How does this apply to me? What part of me is this a reflection of? And also, if we want to create change outside, or if we want to perceive more clearly the mirror, we can play with making changes inside and seeing how that reflects outside. We can investigate the mirror to see how the inside is the outside, to see if that seems true, to see if that's what's happening. Because also with the laws, it's no good me just saying to you, hey, the inside is the outside, and that means nothing to you and you don't experience it yourself. Studying the laws is important, to experiment, to investigate, to see how things are working in your own life, your experience, your own discernment, things like that. And also with some of these laws, all of these laws are interconnected, and some of them are also very similar to others or directly leading on from others. For example, number 4, the law of attraction, also known as the law of mirroring, is basically about a practical application of how to influence the mirror, or how our focus affects the mirror. So for example, how my positive focus affects the mirror, how my negative focus affects the mirror, how my focus influences what shows up outside, and also how my subconscious, unconscious influences what shows up outside, how my parts and their conflicts or their agreements influence what shows up outside. And also how the outside influences me. It's a two-way mirror, that you're in a relationship with the mirror. Things can be affected from the inside or from the outside, and they both affect each other. So all of your vibration, your thoughts, feelings, emotions, beliefs, ideas, preferences, values, needs, desires, and your relationship to those, all your entire vibration, your subconscious, your conscious focus, your positive focus, your negative focus, your resistant, all of these things and more affect what reflects in the mirror, not just positive thinking. However, including positive thinking. Also, what happens to you and how you interpret it affects your vibration. As I said, this two-way mirror. And then also how you respond to that back and forth. So how we can be in harmony with this law is take care of our vibration in any way that we can. Taking care of our thoughts, feeling our feelings, bringing presence to what's happening. Integration between parts of us that are in conflict, making peace with the present moment, lining ourselves up with what we desire in the best way that we can. It's like a continuous gardening of the vibration, and all the different ways that we can take care of our vibration are much more than I can name, but there were a few examples anyway. Let's see if we've got any more examples of how to take care of our vibration before we move on. Taking care of the relationships between things. An ultimate, fundamental, important approach or technique to have in our toolbox when taking care of relationships is to find win-win possibilities between opposed parties, whether that is parts of us or different beings. Anyone need any water? Stretch of legs, taking care of body, stuff like that. Something else important for taking care of our vibration is the attitude with which we approach anything. Are we being unconditionally loving with our presence towards it? Or are we pushing it away and resisting it? Are we relaxing, understanding, considering and collaborating and observing these energies that are an embrace, or are we pushing something away and resisting it and perpetuating it, if that's the case? So with patterns that we want to change, so to speak, we need to release resistance to them. And with patterns that we want to create, we need to focus into them and deal with everything in between, such as resolving potential conflicts between those points and things like this. How to navigate the law of attraction could be about 7 books, so we'll leave it there for now. Okay, so the 5th law we are studying today is inspired action. So that is when you've got all your ducks in a row and you have your idea, your impulse, you take action on it. If you've done some shadow work and you are seeing what the need is, the inspired action is to meet the need. If you are looking for an idea about what to create and then you have the idea, actually acting on the next idea is another law in this time-space reality. It's the following through. It's the putting the money where the mouth is. It's the last stage of integrity. So inspired action is being in flow and receiving the impulse about what to do next here and now and doing it. Inspired action is having all parts of us in alignment and on board with each other, and then behaving in accordance with what's best for everyone. Inspired action is allowing ourselves to go with the natural current of movement, of doing, when it flows. Inspired action is using our action to take care and/or to create improvement, or to intentionally pause. So how to be in harmony with this law is to watch out for an identification that we can develop with "I don't know what to do." And allowing ourselves to be in the experience of not knowing what to do and not knowing what is going to happen, without creating an identity out of it and blocking out the flow of energy, of ideas, of inspiration. To receive inspiration about inspired action is necessary to connect with flow, or to create the conditions for it to arise, or to take care of our vibration to become a match for it, to, for example, do parts work between our parts so we can figure out what's best for everyone and what we need and see what action needs to be taken. Another thing we can do is ask for ideas that we want and remain open to which way they may flow to us. And then, of course, to be in true harmony with this law, it's that we actually follow through. We actually do it. And that's about bravery. That's about keeping our integrity. I figure out that this is what needs to be done, and I do it. Figure out this is what I want to do, and I do it. It's the "and I do it," and then do it, and actually do it. It's like, act like it also, which is the final step that lets the universe know what I am saying with my energy. Because if I'm saying I want to do this and I don't do it, that's very confusing for the universe. That's a mixed message. It's about being clear, direct, precise, and self-trust. Can I trust myself to act in my best interest? Or am I just going to say that I'll do it and not do it? And also, it's very valid to not perceive ourselves to be able to do some things sometimes. And am I doing what needs to be done to take care of myself in that state? To figure out what would support me to do it. It's this proactivity. And we can use our inspired action to rest also. It's like, am I showing up for myself and also for everyone I affect in the best way that I can on all levels of my being, right down to my follow through, right down to how I direct my physical building blocks with all the integrity that took place on the deeper levels. Numero 6, perpetual transmutation. The law of perpetual transmutation is that everything at the big picture level is in a constant state of the better it gets, the better it gets. The more awareness that we all and Source develop, the better that we can create in favor of everyone and what's best for everyone. Perpetual transmutation is this state of evolution. Let's do more about what it is before we go into how we can harmonize with it. So it's like perpetual improvement in this time-space reality, using the contrast to figure out what would be better and lining up with it. Perpetual transmutation. Perpetual suggests that it is like a wheel or a train, keeps going, continuous, unfolding. That if we relax into it, we are taken by that like a current. It's a current. It's a law. So how we can stay in harmony with this law is we can see in which ways we do not feel like everything is getting continuously better and investigate what is happening there. Is there someone who is not on board with the change that the rest of you would like to create? And might we all together need to make some changes so that what's happening feels right for everyone? How we can also be in harmony with this law is it's possible to just relax in presence. And this is the way that we flow. If we can cultivate a state of presence, we naturally go with the flow. The awareness that everything is evolving along a trajectory of continuous improvement is awesome to have, because it helps us to trust what we are letting go into and going with the flow of. It is you, it is one, after all. So, of course, you have your best interest at heart. As long as we all keep gaining awareness together, the one that is everything wants what's best for everyone. A win-win is the ultimate way to get on board with perpetual transmutation, because it gets everyone flowing in the same direction. And also, whoever is not on board, or if there's a conflict, the result of that resolution is going to also improve what we create. So to be in harmony with this law is to focus on what's best for everyone, which gives us the greatest possibility of all flowing towards better and better together, with nobody being left behind, bulldozed, excluded, hurt, or anything like this. And when we relax into presence and go with the natural flow, we can also see what comes to the surface as a resistance, see if anything is needed, or maybe it's just presence. It's a continuous collaboration that we cannot finish. It's perpetual. The better it gets, the better it gets. And to make peace with what is also part of being in harmony with perpetual transmutation, because if there is not peace with what is, this is where we're going to stay until we release resistance. Okay, so is there anything else that wants to be said about perpetual transmutation? Is to stress the importance of everyone being in alignment, because if even one part is not on board with the positive change that the rest of the collective is moving with, this one part is going to act as an oppositional force in order to not be forced, because each aspect has its own authenticity and free will. And it's important that we value each aspect, and we don't have the sum total of what's best for everyone, and we do not have the best possibility until we have everyone on board, everyone's contribution, everyone's alignment, everyone's in harmony, and we flow. Because there's always a very important reason why someone's not on board if they're not on board. So, the seventh law that we're going to look at today is cause and effect. To put it very simply, if an action happens, It has a reaction, cause and effect. If something happens on this side of the mirror, it causes something to be affected on this side of the mirror. Everything impacts everything else. Cause, effect. And now to go deeper, something could be a cause which creates an effect, So this effect is also a cause which creates an effect. Also, this cause was created, if we go back in the chain, by another cause, so it's also an effect. Cause and effect are two sides of the same coin. So a question that comes to me is there an ultimate cause before any effects? And I'm going to leave that as a reflective question rather than answer it for us all to reflect on. So then when it comes to us and how we can be in harmony with the law of cause and effect, cause and effect, how am I influencing the world around me? What am I causing? What kind of impact am I having? How am I affecting things? And then we can also look at ourselves as an effect. How am I being affected? How am I being impacted? What am I going to do with myself as a cause? How am I going to take care of my impact? And also, what do I do with those moments when I am impacted, when I am at the effect of something? How do I regain my power and cause the kind of impact that I want to create? So how we can be in harmony with this law is by taking care of our vibration and causing the kind of impact that we want to see happen. We want to affect things in a particular way, so we act in integrity with that. We take care of our vibration in integrity with that. And when I am affected by something, when I'm at the effect of something, in what way do I take care of myself? What value do I extract from it? What healing do I need? What do I do going forward? What attitude do I have when I am at the effect of something and when I'm taking care of my attitude? That I take ownership of what happens to me and how I'm affected when I'm at the effect of something. So I might cause intentionally the kind of impact that I want to create. How do we use the way we're affected at the effect of something to influence with all of our experience and what we learned from it, and to cause what our unique experience has caused us to become and be able to offer and influence? To be empowered in the law of cause and effect is to see how we interplay in both sides of it, how we're affected at the effect of things and how we cause and affect other things that then become our effect. So when we're affected by something, at the effect of something, in what way does that change us? What kind of impact does that have? And does the attitude with which I receive affect that at all? And when I cause things, when I impact, when I affect, in what way does my attitude or approach change the results that happen? And can we master the art of that, the art of influence, with the best interest of all involved in mind? Making manipulation conscious and neutral, like molding clay. Not forcing something to conform. That's the other kind of manipulation, or trying to do that. And noticing the potential shadows of when we see ourselves only as the cause and not affected by anything, not at the effect of anything. what potential shadows that can create. And in the same way, when we see ourselves only at the effect of something, what potential shadows can that create? If I'm only the cause and not an effect, or if I'm only an effect and not a cause, what are the potential shadows of each side? The potential shadows of being only the cause is lack of consideration, lack of attunement, lack of compassion, lack of understanding, disconnection. And when we see ourselves only as an effect, learned helplessness or powerlessness, passivity, being controllable, being manipulative, and also coming back to seeing ourselves only as the cause, being controlling, we need to influence and be affected. And when we're affected, use that as information to guide the way we then influence. It's a feedback system. It's important that the feedback system is flowing all the way through. Which leads us nicely into our 8th law, reciprocity. What is reciprocity? Life is relationship between all these different aspects of the one source. The law of reciprocity is how do these relationships exchange energy? Is that healthy? Is that balanced? Is that consensual? Is that empowering? Is that healing? Or is that one-sided? Is that draining? Is that mismatched? Is that incompatible? So the law of reciprocity is the exchange of energy and the interdependence that we have with everything else. So how we can be in harmony with this law and with everything else is to take care of the way we exchange energy, to make exchanges above board, to ask directly for what we need, to organize ourselves with compatible people, to take initiative and to encourage others to take initiative or allow space for them to take initiative, to have boundaries with things that are not honoring our healthy, reciprocal balances, needs. How else can we stay in harmony with this law? We can practice giving and we can practice receiving, and to engage in both sides of the coin. We can take care of our vibration in terms of the wounds that we might have with giving and receiving, and with doing too much of one and not enough of the other. And we can find creative ways of playing with both sides. Okay. So number 9, the law of relativity. In this time-space reality, everything is relative based on what perspective we are looking through. For example, I might consider myself small until I see myself next to an ant, and then I consider myself big. Relativity can also be seen as compared to what's around. That can affect the perspective. Relative to what is here, the perspective can be affected. We can also see this if we take money. £1,000 might be a lot of money to someone in one perspective, and the same amount of money, £1,000, might be not a lot of money to someone with a different perspective. Somebody poor is going to see money different to somebody rich based on relativity, based on what they have to compare it to. So how can we stay in harmony with the law of relativity? To expand our perspective rather than being stuck in the only way we usually have to relate with things, we can put ourselves in different environments and see how that affects us, relatively speaking. We can look at different things that are present in the room and compare things and relate with them. For example, if I take this object and I think about its size, I would say that that is small. But then if I take out this object, now how does that affect the way that I see the size of this object? Now I think it's quite normal size, maybe slightly big, or maybe the same, just with a different shape. And now if I put it next to this object, then I'm seeing this as smaller compared to this. If we only see from inside our rigid perspective, it's going to be more limited than if we explore different perspectives and if we allow our perspective to be affected by different things and we exercise how relativity is working in our life. How is it functioning? How is it affecting the way I perceive? And how is the way I perceive affecting the law of relativity? How is it playing out in my life? You can take a subject that you want to focus on, for example, career. Now, with my usual perspective, this is how I relate to career. Now, if I look at someone else who has a similar career to me and might be further ahead, and I take things from their experience, then I might relate differently with this career. Giving ourselves a different perspective to relate with the same thing can change the feedback that we're getting through the law of relativity. Also, the way that we usually see ourselves is quite normal to us. And if we compare or relate ourselves with something we don't usually compare or relate ourselves with, this gives us the possibility to see something different about ourselves and something different about them. So it seems that what's coming is a way to be in harmony with this law, is to play with expanding and varying our perspective and seeing how that affects the way that we see the same thing from a different angle. Also, we bring this back to the law of oneness, that everything is this same one source energy being seen through different perspectives, and how we're all seeing what's happening is totally different based, relatively, on how each one is perceiving and in relation to what. We're all relationally affected, interdependent. Okay, so number 10. The law of polarity. So in this time-space reality, the law of polarity, the law of duality, the law of opposites, that each coin has two sides, or that black implies white, self implies other. Alan Watts, life implies death. Positive, negative. You, me. And how we stay in harmony with this law is by recognizing that both of these sides of each coin are inside of us. We're not one or the other. We contain both. Everything, nothing. Inside, outside. And instead of choosing a side and fighting against the other side or trying to get one side to win, how to stay in harmony is to find integration between both sides, find a win-win between both sides. It's literally to find harmony between both sides, to see the value in each side, to see that which we are, which is beyond the concept of two sides, the oneness, and the unspeakable one beyond that, non-duality and that which I cannot articulate. To play conceptually with those things, to loosen the identification and take positive ownership of everything and find harmony between all of it, and to be aware of the part of us that is somehow beyond all of that and is also the creative dancer of all of this, the dreamer of all of this. And the last very important point of the law of polarity and staying in harmony with it is to be able to hold dichotomy. To be able to hold seemingly conflicting ideas both at once. To be able to hold multiple perspectives. Duality or polarity also brings the topic of conflict, because the unconscious way to relate with duality is conflict, to identify with one and try to overpower the other. So to hold dichotomy is the first step in being able to resolve the 2 points into a third point that is the sum total of both of those points and something more. The win-win, the exaltation, the mystery, the miracle, the improvement, the evolution, the integration, the oneness, which is a merging that also contains the authenticity of all the individual aspects. That's what it is to harmonize. So, law number 11 is the law of rhythm. So that the way energy or life moves has a rhythm. It's cyclic. Somebody said this, the course of events and the rhythm is cyclic. So as to study the patterns and the rhythm that is happening as a whole, as a collective, and also we have our own individual unique rhythm, is to find harmony between those rhythms. So what else is the law of rhythm? Rhythm also suggests continuous pulse. Rhythm. Do, 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 do. The natural rhythms and the natural rhythms and patterns and cycles of nature. We can see them in the weather, in the day, in the night, in the repetition. And also we can see different peoples and different animals, individual and unique rhythm. The way you move and your rhythm is slightly different to the way others move and their rhythm. So how can we stay in harmony with the law of rhythm? It's very much about finding harmony between your individual rhythm and the rhythms of all the other individuals and of the collective of life itself, of existence, of nature, to be in our natural state, to flow, to be authentic and to consider and to dance and to collaborate and to notice. In what way do you have a rhythm going that feels good and that feels in harmony with everything else, that feels flowy and feels natural? And in what way do you have a rhythm going that might be stuck or stagnant? In what ways are you aware of the patterns that happen in the events around us? And in what ways is that unknown and still to be discovered? And in what ways are you consciously collaborating with the rhythm around you? And in what ways does it feel like you're an island unto yourself, for example? What things can you do to connect with rhythm? The obvious one is music. Repetitive, rhythmic, dancing, pattern recognition exercises, understanding, practicing understanding and not knowing. There is something predictable about rhythm, and there is also something spontaneous. If there is too much predictability, not enough spontaneity, or too much spontaneity, not enough predictability, we can be aware of these kinds of things and implement more of whatever is needed. What comes to me is trusting our own rhythm and learning to dance with the rhythms of everything, of others, with others. Learning to dance with others, with everything. And that just because your rhythm looks different to other people's, that doesn't mean that you're wrong or that you need to do it like them. You do it like you. Your rhythm is specifically for you. And it's beautiful to dance with the others. Consider everyone. There's a rhythm to that. Self, others, self, others, self, others. And the last traditional law of the universe that we are going to look at today, the 12th one, is the law of gender. Is that energy is split into two main genders, and for the purpose of this video today, I'm going to focus on the two main genders. And the one who is genderless, the core aspect of the soul, the creator of genders, so that everything has a polarity that is congruent with a gender. Energies are masculine or feminine, or a combination of both, or neither. For the sake of looking directly at the law of gender, we have masculine energy and feminine energy. Masculine energy doing, feminine energy being. Feminine energy creativity, masculine energy direction. Feminine energy wisdom, masculine energy practicality. Feminine energy embrace, masculine energy containment. Feminine energy love, masculine energy authority. And how we relate with these energies is very influenced by whoever in our childhood embodied these energies. Usually mum and dad. However, it could be something different. The caregivers, the main influences, the gods of the universe to children. So is there one of these energies that you identify with more? Or is it neither? Or is it something completely different? And in what way do they affect each other? So to be in harmony with these energies, the masculine energy and the feminine energy need to be in their power for each other to be in their power. The divine masculine and the divine feminine are a marriage. They need each other in a exchange, in a dance, in a complementary arrangement. And usually women are going to embody more feminine energy and men are going to embody more masculine energy. And of course, it's not always the case. There can be different combinations of this. So whichever energy each individual, whichever combination of energy each individual embodies in their healthy expression is going to be different for each and every person. It's important to find complementary arrangements with the other people who have the other aspects of energy that we need to support our energy. A masculine man needs feminine energy to come from others, and a feminine woman needs masculine energy to come from others, for example. They may have some, of course, they have some of the opposite energy themselves, and as there is a bias, there needs to be a balancing from the outside. It's very important to take ownership of the energies of gender and to be aware of trauma that we have that might cause an imbalance or a rejection of one or both of the energies. There is a way of being androgynous that's a deep ownership of both energies, and there is a way of being androgynous that is a rejection of both energies. There is a way of being masculine that is a deep ownership of both polarities and having a natural bias towards it, and there is a way of being masculine that's a rejection of feminine, and vice versa. There are shadow ways to embody genders, and there are empowered ways to embody gender, and there are many different ways to embody gender. So how can we be in harmony with the law of gender? We can be aware of what is our orientation, what is our makeup and combination between these two energies, and therefore what is it that we need more of from others, and what is it that we bring to the table with others based on this makeup, and what is our relationship to both genders. Are we in positive ownership of them and in our natural orientation, or are we relating with them through trauma and wounds? Just to see what is going on and see if anything needs to happen in terms of how we're relating with them, the attitude that we have towards them. And say, for example, I'm a feminine woman and I also have some masculine energy inside of me. I'm clearly doing a lot of the feminine things myself in this example, and the masculine things, I'm providing some of them myself, and which ones do I need, which qualities do I need to receive from others, and also what qualities of mine thrive around other feminine women that have those qualities, and we dance together in that. What picture in terms of gender do I want to paint in my life based on what I bring to the table and what I need, whatever that is for you? This is not about making anyone's gender orientation wrong or right. This is just about how do we take care of it, how do we organize our social arrangement to complement what it is that we bring energetically in terms of gender. What are our strengths and what are our weaknesses? Which energy do I need more of? And am I going to create that for myself, or am I going to receive that from other people? So what's coming to me about how to be in harmony with these laws is to look at the relationship I had with my mother and with my father, or with the masculine and feminine masculine energies in my past, and in what way is that still alive inside of me? And is there any reconciliation that I need to facilitate? Are there any distortions in the way that I'm perceiving either gender based on this internal experience? And how might those experiences with the different genders still be affecting the way that I have relationships today? So a good place to begin with the law of gender is with this. In what way did I experience both genders? And how does that affect the way that I'm relating with each of these genders in different people? Are there any patterns? Is there any resentment? Is anything about this section of the video confronting? Are there any triggers and things like this? If we have any triggers around gender, that's a really good place to begin with our investigation of what is happening there. And as always, to watch out for what we might be making it mean or interpreting based on what experiences we have inside, etc. And to take an attitude of curiosity with this information, of how might it apply to me, how might it serve me, how might it value me, what is this trigger telling me? As everything that comes in a two, gender is a polarity. So to close, a reminder that it's very important to hold the dichotomy of the polarity and see in which way do they integrate what's best for everyone. Who am I beyond that as I hold those, rather than to get caught up in a war on gender identification. The way each individual person identifies with their gender is valid, and the way that I see it, it's necessary to also be aware that it's an identification, and that observing the way that we identify and disidentifying from it and taking positive ownership and looking at both sides and everything we've talked about today is healthy, and it's not about making anyone wrong. Gender's not something that thrives against something else. Genders exist as two main polarities that thrive when in harmony with each other. Okay, so that was our intuitive studying of the 12 traditional main laws of the universe. The law of oneness, the law of vibration, inner is outer, the law of attraction or mirroring, the law of inspired action, the law of perpetual transmutation, the law of cause and effect, the law of reciprocity, the law of relativity, the law of polarity, the law of rhythm, the law of gender. So if any of those laws today sparked a particular interest or curiosity in you, then perhaps if you feel called to it, you could study one of them and see what happens. I know I'm gonna watch this video back and study them based on what I just channeled about them and see if I can learn something. Let me know in the comments below if this has supported you with understanding the laws and how to be in harmony with them practically in your life. Thank you for being here. I encourage you to like this video if you did like it, and to leave a comment sharing what you took from this video, what did you receive, and also subscribe if you have not already, and hit the notification bell. If you want to watch more of my content, I have plenty of videos available here on YouTube for you to take a deep dive into, or you can watch through my shorts if you prefer that kind of viewing experience and see if that calls you into another long video, whatever you would like to do. And if you want to dive deeper into my content, I do have a masterclass and a belief-changing guidebook available for you to purchase on Ko-fi. So if that interests you, check that out. As always, my links are in the description box. Thank you for opening yourself to studying the laws of the universe in this spontaneous way. Take care of yourself in the best way that you can, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now. Namaste.